All right. We're still on to the coverage of the funeral of the late Pope Francis. And of course, we have Anthony Chiejina, a Knight of St. Malumba, now joins us for more insight into the life and times of Pope Francis in the studio with us. Good to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so how would you reflect on the life and times of the Pope?
Well, and you can hear your colleague. One of the things Pope Francis usually talk about journalism, and journalists eyewitness account, and that's what she's giving you, the peace. So the Pope, everybody knows him as the people's Pope, the Pope for the poor.
Yeah.
And you can see it play out this morning. A lot of people, so many who have never seen this kind of crowd in the history of papacy. And I can tell you on social media, it's going to gain the highest traction. And for 2025, I don't think any traction can match what you have seen today. And that tells you the kind of person he is. A very humble man, a man of peace, full of mercy, heavenly virtues. See it? Meek, piety, just name it, courageous, faithful, holiness. See, a man of justice. So, and you can see him in everything he does, or whatever, everything he did while alive. So that is what, carrying the burden of the poor in his heart. You see it in his encyclicals, you see it in his apostolic exhortations. For instance, his encyclical on what they call Fratelli Tutti, or of friendship and social, of fraternity and social friendship. So when you read that document, you can see that he's carrying the pain of the world in his heart. See, he started it with the parable of the Good Samaritan. Everybody was walking by, and the Samaritan came and picked him. And also, the inn was also there. Without the inn, what would have happened to the Samaritan? So now he is to an example to the world that is so indifferent to the needs of the poor, a world that is cold, a world that is living what I may call a lonely crowd. See it? A world that they don't even discuss about the vulnerable, about the displaced. So you can see him talk about migration. His heart goes out for all these migrants all over the world, crossing the dangerous seas in the Mediterranean and Atlantic and crossing the deserts. He goes there and preaches openness. So that is what Francis stood for. And Francis has had a role model. And that role model is St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi lived and died for the poor, just as Francis lived and died for the poor. And that is what you get when you live and die for the poor. You can see the crowd. And as Adefemi said, from the configuration of people in attendance, young, old, everybody, religious divide, all of them, because he was reaching out to every one of them, be it in Ukraine, be it in Palestine. So that is the kind of Pope he was. Everywhere in the world where there is war, there is hunger, there is pestilence, you see him there. Even during COVID, if you look at COVID, during COVID, that's late 2019 and 2020, he spoke out against the divide. I mean, I remember when he was talking about all of us being in the same boat before the vaccine was discovered. Nobody was talking about this, that, because nobody knew what COVID was doing. People were dying in their thousands, either in the United States or in Europe. And the very glim and doom prediction about Africa, they are thinking that Africa will be dying like houseflies. But that never happened. So he reached out to the world and listen, we are in the same boat in this COVID. But luckily, 1 year or less than 1 year, vaccine was found. And this vaccine, the world started putting a medical barrier. The rich ones, the poor ones. It was a lone voice saying, no, this vaccine must get to the weak, must get to the poor countries.
All right, Mr. Chiejina.
So that is it.
So many remarkable virtues when it comes to the Pope. And we saw the simplicity and what he requested for, especially for his funeral rites, saying he wanted to be buried in a wooden casket and also buried outside the Vatican, and it was the very first to, make such demands. But how do you think all of these, simplicities, virtues, how do you think they would shape the future of the Catholic Church?
Yes, I mean, that is what the Catholic Church is all about. That's the values, that's the heavenly virtues they talk about, they preach on a regular basis. So the preaching doesn't end with Pope Francis. It cascades down from the Pope to the cardinals to the bishops, to the clergy, to the consecrated, and also to the lay faithful. So, and that is the preaching. And when you see the Catholic Church, they're always the voice for the poor. Like the Bishop Conference of Nigeria, whenever there is anything, they don't waste time to come out and state their position. See it? So that's the social teaching of the church, of the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church does not joke with it. See it? And that is it. They are there for the poor. They are there for the weak. They are there for the vulnerable. They are not miracle workers. See it? They are not looking for magicians. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, all right.
So we have our liturgy.
Indeed.
Yes, that we put our faith and trust in. We have our sense.
Indeed.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned the word vulnerable, that class of people. Now, there were some low points in the history of the Catholic Church, and I dare say maybe perhaps not too reflected on the papacy of the late Pope. If you remember some allegations regarding child molestation against, young male assistants in the Catholic Church in some parts of the world. And we saw how the Pope handled it. But going that memory lane, how do you think he handled it in terms of, I think at one point he had to apologize on behalf of, but to a large extent, he also advocated that justice must be done on whoever was engaged or if they've been found guilty regarding those allegations. So in cleansing that issue that has been lingering for quite some time, how would you, assess his commitment towards that?
Yeah, he stood firmly against it, and he never spared anybody. And he touched every point of the Catholic faith. See it? And he took it as, yes, if this is my accomplishment, yes, I'm very happy. And everybody is falling in line. Yeah. Yes, he cared for, he hates the sin and cares for the sinner. See it? So, and that is it. So the Catholic Church is aware of such, and they are putting their gas. See it? So the Pope drove it and drove it dispassionately. See it? Without any form of sentiment. Where it is, there is need for him to apologize. He does. He never wasted time to apologize, and that is the good thing about the Catholic Church. See it? Even Pope John Paul II, some of the things committed by one way or the other, human error. He apologized for such human error. See, we are human beings. So, and we have our own failings. But the basic thing is for you to recognize your failing. Be sincerely repentant of that sin. Yes. Confess it, and never to go back to it.
Indeed.
And that is a mark of holiness. And that is a mark of Christianity. And that is what sustains your faith, that makes you grow day by day stronger. And that gives you the physical support and spiritual support to carry on on daily basis, because there are challenges in life and everyday living.
Indeed.
Talking about someone who was very inclusive and accommodated different kinds of people, independent of their race or, belief system. You'd recall one of the things it was quoted as saying when it comes to LGBTQ+ was that he was no one to judge, any man. And then, some of these messages or his thoughts or his statement were misquoted in different quarters. How do you interpret this, his stance on gay rights, and how do you think it impacted the Catholic Church, especially his approach to LGBTQ plus issues?
Okay, from the beginning, Pope Francis, among the media, is usually misinterpreted, misrepresented. He has said it, what he has said. So what the journalists make out of it is a different thing. You know, a journalist is interested in the headline.
But it was said to have also joined, you know, homosexuals.
No, what he's saying that,
church.
see, he's like a father welcoming the prodigal son. He don't throw the sinner away. He doesn't say, oh, they are coming into the church. No, he's more concerned with the sinner and also hating the sin of the sinner. See, Christ, you know, even if he's one, he recovers that soul. Even if there are 99 and one is lost, he goes for that one that is lost and recovers it. See it. So, and that is what he was doing. So it's often misrepresented. And that is why whenever he's speaking to journalists, he doesn't want to start explaining himself. You know, journalists will twist stories, will embellish it to suit the headline, to suit traction, and people want to read it, and this is what the Pope said. And for him, what he has said, he has said. What you may present or kind of reinterpret, you're on your own. In Latin, they said autographer, autographer. What is written is written. What he has said it. See it. So what journalists make out of it, and that is why he usually tells journalists that, listen, if you are reporting, you must be concerned with hope. Don't give in to fear. Don't report fear. Don't report anxiety. Don't report any form of, use your report to create hate, to create disaffection. Your report must give hope. Your report must inspire hope. And that's what he has been saying. And also, in his report, he's also telling journalists, even each World Communication Day, he comes out with a release and telling journalists, listen, you must be the conscience of the people. You must, given that the digital communication is there, it's a good thing, but you must use it responsibly. Yeah. Don't use it negatively. So with the age of AI and the rest, you're also cautioning them, be very careful. Don't spin it out of control. Make sure that you say the right thing so that you don't inspire fear or hate among the people. See it. And that is why I always say then that you must write or communicate things that will make people listen with the ear of their hearts. Are you getting it? The ear of their heart, not only with their ears, but there are two different things. When you are listening with the ear of your heart, it goes straight to your spiritual being, and that is when you absorb whatever somebody is saying. So, and that is what he has been deploying, talking to all leaders. He appeals to their heart, to their conscience. Stop the war, stop the aggression, stop the hunger, show love for the migrants. See, he's talking to the heart, speaking to their hearts, hoping that they will listen. And that is why you see them falling up today, because he's touching their hearts. And that is very, very key in your communication. And as a man of peace, one has gone home with a shout of joy. Yes. And he has seen the Lord with a blast of trumpets. Right. And that is what is reflected today.
Very good.
Peaceful, as Adefemi said, and clockwork.
Very good. So just before we go, because we're almost running out of time here, about 2 or 3 years ago, thereabout, ever since he's been having complications regarding his health, there were mutins that probably the Pope should resign, although he didn't give in to that suggestion. Why do you think, especially even when it was obvious that it was affecting his ability to...
The thing is that you and I, we are different from them. Their level of spirituality is not like you and I at all. You pray in pain, just like Christ offered up himself. When he was being crucified, he was praying in pain to the Father. See it. So the same applies. It's not just he wants to run away from the pain. He offers it to Christ and let the will of God prevail, and that is what it is. It's not you and I, when we have something I say, oh no, step down because you are sick. It's not APC or PDP or anything. So, and that is, their spirituality has prepared them, and it gives them that healing power. And look at the process. Even before he died, people were saying, oh, the Pope is already dead. He came out, survived it, and also did the last, what I would say, farewell journey for everybody. You can imagine that kind of wonderful transition. And that's what everybody prays for. It's like they're all waiting for him. Get out and let us see the Pope and see your face. And that's what he did.
Indeed, a very beautiful ending for
Yes.
Pope Francis, and we pray for his soul to continue to rest in peace.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Anthony Chiejina,
Thank you.
Knight of St. Mulumba.
Thank you so much. We keep defending the faith of the church.
And if you have just joined us this morning, we coming to you live from St. Peter's Square